Hi guys, my name is Roger. Welcome to a new video. Congratulations, it's 2020 and you bought an MV, a Roland MV production studio, the 8000 or the 8800, and it arrived. It arrived at your home or your studio. It's in your room, you turn it on and it does
Nothing.
no sounds, no beats, nothing. In this video, I'm going to show you just some basic steps to start. Just the first minutes with your MV. Ready? Here we go. First, we are going to create a new project. Very important to understand is that a project contains all the information. It contains samples, sounds, effects, songs, all those kinds of things are combined in a project. So we are now going to create a project. We press the project button and then we see number 6, create new project. I can use value dial, I can use the cursor, or I just can push button 6 and then enter. Now I do execute. Do we want to save the current project? No, we don't want to save anything because we want to start with a new project. So I press no. The MV is now creating this new project. And what we will see is that we can choose two different ways of recording a song. You got song mode and you have pattern mode. Song mode is a linear way of recording a song, and pattern mode is to create a song with patterns. In this case, I'm going to work with song mode. We see on the screen two types of tracks. Audio tracks and MIDI tracks. The audio tracks are for direct audio recording and for the audio phrases. The MIDI tracks are for MIDI instruments and external instruments, external MIDI hardware. I said MIDI instruments because you can load sounds into the MV as instruments, samples, and play with them. Of course you can. So important to understand is that you have to load a sound or a patch, as Roland it calls a patch, and a patch contains 96 samples because we got 16 pads and 6 banks. 6 times 16 is 96 samples we can have per patch. Sounds complicated? Well, let me show you the following. First, we are going to load a sound, an instrument. So I press instruments and now we see a list of 16 places to put a patch on. In a song, you can use 16 different patches, but you also have a library. And the library is useful to store other patches. And you got a total of 128 places to put on patches. But now we are going to load a patch. So I press menu and then I go to load patch. I press enter. Now we're on the hard disk and now we can select a folder. I go to TMM pack. I press enter. And now we see several sounds. And you see a preview button. And the preview button is very handy because you can preview a sound before it's loaded into the memory. So if I want to preview, for example, drifting, I do preview. It's now reading. And if I play the pads, you will hear the sound. I will do it on 2 octaves higher. Let me do something else. I want to load, let's say, this one, the TR-909 Classic. And I want to load 2 patches at the same time. So I do now mark on. And I also want to have, let's say, this FM bass. I do mark on. So 2 patches are marked. And I'm going to load them. And the MV will load it onto the part 1 and also on the library number 1 and 2. So I do execute. And now the MV is loading. It's loading the TR-909 Classic, drum kit, and this bass. It's completed now. I do exit. And now we see on number 1 we have the drum, the TR-909 Classic, and on part number 2 we have the FM bass. If I go to library, you see the same. On user number 1 we have the TR-909, and on user 2 we have the FM bass. I do exit and I go to this menu. Then I go to MIDI, track number 1. You see over here track parameters. If I press that button, then we see the track and we see the output assign. The output assign means where the sound is coming from. In this case, it's the sound of the TR-909. If I play the pads, we should hear this TR-909. I can change the output assign also to part number 2, and then we have the bass. Let me do the octave higher. So that's the bass. Okay, so MIDI track number 1 has the drum, the TR-909 Classic. I do close. And now I will record something with this sound. Recording is very easy with the MV. What I'm first going to do is to create a loop, because I want to have it looped. So we press loop on. Loop is now on. If I do shift and then loop on, then we can choose several parameters. So we can choose, for example, quick loop, length, and I want to have it 4 measures. Or if I use the cursor, I can over here also create a loop end. To record with this patch a beat, I press now record. And you hear the metronome already. We see on the screen several things. Recording mode is overdub, count in 2 measures, then an auto punch. Metronome mode, record only, and the input quantize. I love to work with a wait note, which means that when I play a pad, then it starts recording. And I'm going to quantize it immediately on grid. So it's armed, and now I can start playing the pads and it will record immediately. Let's give it a try. So it's recorded and it's quantized. If I press again the record button, the red light will blink. Now I'm in rehearsal mode and I can check for other sounds. If I press again the record button, I can record. Okay. So this is a very easy way of recording. So we have loaded a patch into the memory and we already have recorded a simple beat in a simple loop. Just basic starting with your MV. Now I'm going to show you how to sample with your MV, because that's also very simple. We press the sampling button and we're now in the sampling menu. You see the input select, start trigger, pre-sample time, and then auto divide, auto emphasis, and auto normalize. So let me prepare the computer. Okay, I want to sample a part of that song, and when I hit start on the MV, it starts sampling. Here we go. Do the right thing. You got to do the right thing. Do the right. I stop the sampling and now it's sampled. Let's do a preview. Do the right thing. Do the right thing. You got to do the right thing. Do the right. Okay. Now I can change over here the starting point, because I want to have it started over here where the first beat starts. I can use the cursor to zoom in or zoom out by using the shift button. And there are two preview buttons, to and from. So this is the right part to start. And let me search now for the end. Okay. And that's almost over here. Okay, now we are going to adjust the beats, the bass note, because those are 16 beats for sure. Okay, I can make it a loop over here, loop on. I'm going to truncate. Truncate means to cut it. To cut the first part and the last part, to have a clean loop, and I'm going to normalize it. So let me do a preview. You got to do the right thing. Do the right thing. So as you can hear, it's now a very good loop. I do quick assign. And now I can assign it to a patch or to a phrase. And in this case, I'm going to assign it to a phrase. So it's now assigned to a phrase, and I want to have it on the first pad. So I do execute. If I go now to audio phrases, then we see that pad number 1 is filled with the sample. You hear that the sample is louder now because I have normalized it. You got to do the right thing. Now I go to edit. I go to edit because I can adjust something over here. I can adjust the BPM. Because we see over here BPM sync, and I want to have it synced with the BPM of the song. So I do on, and now it's synced to the BPM of the song. You got to do the right thing. Okay, it's slower now because the BPM of the song is 100. I go to exit. So we got here on MIDI track number 1 the beat. And you know what? I'm going to turn up the BPM. So I press the BPM button, and then we see 100 over here, and I'm going to put it on 110. That's almost the, well, that's the BPM also of the sample. Let me do it on 112. So, okay. What I said in the beginning is that the audio phrase should be recorded on the audio track. So I go to the audio track number 1. And what I'm now going to do is very simple. I'm going to use step recording for this phrase. I do shift record. And now I can press the pad. On the screen we see step time measure, but I can change it to phrase. So now the complete phrase will be put on the track of the song, on the audio track number 1. So I press the pad and it's completely filled. I press stop. So we have now audio track 1 with a phrase sample, and we have MIDI track number 1 with that tier 909 drum. Let me hit play now. You got to do the right thing. Do the right thing. Just very simple. You got to do the right thing. Let me change the BPM to 100 again. Right thing. You got to do the right thing. Or more BPM. Do the right thing. You got to do the right thing. Do the right thing. So, just very simple. I also want to explain another thing, and that is how to create a sound on the keyboard to play with one sound spread over the keyboard. So we have to load, in this case, a sample. I'm going to import a sample. I press the import button. And let me search for a sample. I see wave over here. One shots. Okay, let me check an acoustic note over here. And rough flute. I'm going to import it. So it's now importing. And I don't know what sound it is, but that doesn't matter. Because very important to know is that you need to have 16-bit wave files at 44.1 kilohertz. Otherwise it won't work. Okay, it's loaded. Let me do a preview. Terrible sound. But I want to have this spread all over the keyboard. So I do now a quick assign. And I want to assign it to a patch because I want to create an instrument with this sound. So I do patch. And over here, it's very easy. We see make keyboard. Wait a minute. I have to put it on an empty part because on part number 1 is a TR-909. This is the FM bass. And this is an empty part. I want to have it over here. Now I say make keyboard. So I do make keyboard. And over here, I change the keyboard. So now you see on the screen that it is spread all over the keyboard. So when I press execute, the patch is created. I go to MIDI track number 2. I go to track parameters. I select output assign number 3, which was the flute spread over the keyboard or spread over the pads. Let me give it a try. And it's spread. Terrible sound, but just to show you how to do it. So in another video, I will dive deeper into creating sounds and working with effects. But this was just the first minutes with your MV. Thank you for watching, and we see each other next time. Bye bye.